Let's run down the headlines of what our boys in the front office are doing, how our offense is looking, and we might have our first episode where we don't talk extensively about the running backs. Christian Pedersen back with another episode of Seahawks Digest. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into the show that is bringing you daily content. So if you want to like, subscribe, comment, share, follow, those are all YouTube buttons that I'm told by my bosses to tell you. If you don't want to do it, no worries. I will be here blabbing away on the internet every single day about Seahawks stuff. We got a trio of stories that I want to talk about today, including refreshed interest in Terrion Arnold. Now, complicated is a perfect headline of it doesn't over or undersell exactly what the experience here would be. Terrion Arnold, for those of you that maybe have a life and don't live terminally online like some of us and know all these stuff, he is a man in some legal troubles. He's out currently on bail and is potentially going to be involved in a trial or a plea, and there's just some legal stuff, let's call it, hanging over his head. So for the Seahawks to be now for the second time in terms of national stories being linked around to the Seahawks having Terrion Arnold be in the conversations to join the defensive secondary, I think puts a little bit more validity to the story. And it also questions, like the question that was brought up in the article that I saw and was reading about it was that it further accentuates the positional issue of the not having Nick Emenworry. And what does that mean for the Seahawks defensively, for the secondary specifically? That there's been some injuries and some underwhelming performances in camp that have led to, the need for, hey, we might have to go get a guy who's out on bail right now to play cornerback for us. And I'm just curious how you guys feel about this. Not that I want to debate the merits of the legal case or anything like that, but like art from artist. Can you separate it? Do you need to separate it? Do you want to separate it? Is a third-string cornerback where you draw the line for your, hey, I will support inclusion up until it's X, Y, or Z. This is what's listed online on the actual depth chart right now. I don't think that Terrion unseeds anybody. But to have him as a backup is a conversation to me worth having just in and of itself, in that football is a bit of a zero-sum game. And, I don't want to necessarily sound like I'm trying to be like, I don't want people who hit their wives, but I don't mind people that commit armed robbery, or I don't want people that are racist, but I do want people that are no. I'm not in favor of like forgiving or allowing or encouraging any amount of crime or tomfoolery. But from just the wholly other side of the spectrum, where I'm just a Seahawks analyst, this guy is a young cornerback who rarely becomes available in his prime for the amount of money that we could potentially pay him, because I would assume that this is a show me kind of take a flyer minimum salary type contract. And if that is what is available, am I a bad person for shrugging my shoulders and going, I could be in? Let me know. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say in the comment section there. Going on further down the line, next article that I saw was from Yahoo Sports, and a lot of people are jumping onto the bandwagon of it's really hard for the Seahawks to repeat as champs. Like, they're the only people that did it were back in the day with the Packers in the Super Bowls 1 and 2. And so he was reading this article, but it gets to the point where it starts talking about how the influx of new talent leads to the ultimate summary of this team could end up being even better in 2026. Now, you guys had said this in the comment section this offseason. And I, A, didn't want to even address it because, like, why jinx it? And B, I get that you're riding high post Super Bowl dub and that most of the team is coming back, but we won the Super Bowl. How do you say, like, you ain't seen nothing yet? Then here do we now have people who get paid much more than I do to talk about football and cover the Seahawks in much more depth and with professionalism, starting to also say it. Not that I'm going to come around to be like, oh, now I believe it, but like I feel comfortable at least talking about it. And in reality, I don't hate the concept of trying to be like, hey, this team could a lot of football to play, a lot of other factors that could be completely out of the Seahawks' control in terms of how the season goes. But in terms of what we can control, it does seem like sky's the limit on what we could accomplish this year. Speaking of accomplishments, we want to run down 2 players before we get to saying adios. This article coming out about who has had the most impressive training camp, talking about Byron Murphy II. Again, this helps feed the principle of like why we can understand and believe that this team could be better than last year's team, is that there are really not that many people that left with free agency or retirement, and the pieces that we do have are not all dudes that are peaking at the same time or all dudes that are all veterans on the downhill who all had a great season last year. There are some guys who are headed still into the we got to figure out what they're even capable of part of their careers. And this was a quote about Byron Murphy. It's the same guy that we watched go from a good, serviceable rookie to a great second year and is on the way to becoming, at least through camp, an elite defensive player of the year kind of candidate. To have Witherspoon being maybe the best cornerback, Eamon Worry being the best jack of all trades, and now it's like, oh, we could have a depoy on our line. Get out of here, man. What the hell are you talking about? We are actually going to be better than last year. Last one I want to talk about before getting out of here. Sam Darnold. I would ask you guys, how old is Sam Darnold? But I think that maybe that's underselling, or like you probably have a good general idea. But maybe let me ask the question differently. If I just showed you these stats in like a bubble, I would say, I would ask you, do you think that this guy is, like, he got his first start with those Jets when he was like maybe 26 or 7 and is now into his mid-30s and is aged appropriately into being like, last year was his best year and because he all lined up and he's adult and yeah. No, Sam's 29. And I don't hate the concept that this article brings up here, that Sam Darnold is still, we're talking about Byron Murphy going from year 2 to 3 and being on this jump. Just because Sam Darnold got thrown into the fire, like the depths of hell, having to play for the Jets right out the gate, and then didn't beat up with his draft stock and got put in this tumultuous wishy-wash of a career, having to bounce from team to team to team. He's only 29, wins a Super Bowl. There could be 5 more years, given how well people age, that if we put an appropriate offensive line in front of him, continue to fund the offensive weapons on the edge, don't overpay on the defense, or pay appropriately on the defense so that it continues to potentially, on some of the years where Sam has some down years, drag him to the playoffs. I think that it's not unreasonable to be like, Sam Darnold has plenty of room still to grow. Maybe not infinite room, not saying he's going to keep getting linearly better until he's 37 or 42, or like, I'm not projecting that, but I'm saying a lot, like almost every other quarterback who's 28 through 30, I don't think there's anybody else capping those guys at, oh, they have reached their potential. So in summary, I think you guys might have been right all offseason. This team looks like it's going to be better than last year's team. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, share, all those other things. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon.